From wars to gas prices, a lot of things seem to be out of control right now. But there are some things you can still control about your personal economy. Joining us to talk about it is Taylor and Laurel Stewart, part of the family at Mattson Financial Services, the sponsor of this segment. They're a financial firm that's been helping people just like you retire successfully here in West Michigan for decades. You can also catch them on the radio on their popular show, Money Mentors. And so, how do you see everything that's happening, which includes international tensions and inflation, affecting the families that you work with?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is the emotion of it all, right? When we first saw that invasion into Ukraine, what's that going to mean to the markets? And markets were very volatile. Still are pretty volatile. Have come up off the lows that they were in, and so I think the biggest thing is really controlling that emotional piece, which goes back to the planning process, making sure that you're working with somebody, you understand their investing philosophy, right? We buy low and we sell high. And so understanding we've got these different buckets set up to take advantage of that opportunity that we're seeing in the market that is created because of that volatility, and really taking control of what we can, right? Now there's things that we can't control, like inflation, of course, and so that goes back to the overall long-term planning, building in some cost of living adjustments into your overall income plan, and taking a step back and looking at your budget and your finances today and making some of those changes accordingly for the longevity of the overall plan.
Sure, controlling emotions makes a lot of sense. Controlling risk is something that we've also talked about. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, and that comes to a conversation of, what's your comfort zone, right? Because that's so different with everybody, especially as we've seen COVID in these last couple years. But also, what does your plan need? We've had people come in and we assess that. We have you take this little risk analysis, and we actually see that you are either overexposed, right? You've got too much equity for what you need, and I've actually seen it where somebody doesn't have enough. And so then, right, we look at these inflationary times, and if you are underexposed, even with where your comfort zone is, we need to change some things, make some adjustments to make sure you can keep up with cost of living and inflation, and make sure money is, still working as hard as you did for it.
Yeah, and that's really important too. I've actually seen more people come in that their risk number is out of line to the other side, where they don't have enough equity, they don't have enough growth in their portfolio, and it really just goes back to emotion. I'm not sure, Taylor, what I should be doing with those dollars, so I just elected to let's pull it out until we get things figured out, which is a great strategy, but making sure that you're getting that help instead of just sitting there in cash and trying to weather that storm, because in all reality, we are seeing really high inflation, so we do need to make sure that we're getting that growth, and that doesn't always have to mean that we have to take on a lot of risk to do it.
Sure, so we've covered controlling emotions, controlling risk. What about other things that we can try to control, like taxes for one thing?
Right. Yeah, taxes, especially now that we can say, hey, that book's closed on last year, but we can still plan for next year. We are still in that Trump administration, his taxes that he has set forth. We think changes are coming, right? We have more debt than ever, and it keeps adding on. So taxes are going to go up. So it's really important to sit down with your fiduciary advisor, also making sure that you have a CPA or tax preparer, that planner, working with you and your advisor, that there's a cohesive plan as to, should I be putting more money away?
Sure.
Should I be looking at conversions, some Roth IRA dollars? Does that make sense for us? And it's definitely an ongoing plan. It's not just a one and done.
Yeah.
And I think there's a happy medium. We've got to control our taxes today for sure, but we also need to forward look and say, in all reality, in the next 10 years, we are going to retire. And we've been putting so much money away into these pre-tax accounts, which is all taxable to you when you start pulling it out, right? So maybe it's time to start doing some things like Roth conversions or contributing to a Roth IRA and just diversifying your buckets by those tax qualifications, right? You're tax qualified, you're tax deferred, you're tax free, making sure we got those all set up so we can really be in control of your tax scenario once you do enter that retirement stage.
Yeah, you talk about a change in taxes. We've covered inflation already. But the tricky thing is, as it is with all things, we don't know how long things will last.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when it comes specifically to inflation, how do you ensure against that and making sure that everyone has that in? And people could have made plans that didn't account for that at all.
Right?
Yeah, a big part of that is building in some yield, some income into your portfolio. So we don't have to take too much risk in the stock market to get this growth, right? But creating a portfolio that's got that yield coming in, whether it's blue chip stocks and you're getting a 3.5%, 4% dividend yield or sometimes more, or looking at some other safer assets that have a good yield and income to the portfolio. So at the end of the year, where maybe we're getting 4% dividend yield, coupon rate off some bonds and some other things, and inflation's in 7 to 8%. Well, now we only have to make up another 3 to 4% just to stay even, of course, right? But we don't have to take on so much risk to try and get that 8+% return to stay ahead of the curve.
That structuring of the portfolio is really important.
Yeah, so we've talked about controlling risk and taxes and inflation. How does someone get started?
Yes, so if you are one of the first 5 callers who've saved $500,000 or more for retirement, you're either entering retirement, you've got that date, or maybe you're already retired, it's this time that you could give us a call, sit down with one of our advisors and talk about what does your plan look like, right? Maybe one of these areas is lacking in your plan and we can help you with that.
Sounds good. So for you at home, take advantage of that special offer from Mattson Financial. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, Taylor, Laurel, and the rest of the team will sit down with you personally to customize a retirement plan just for you. This is a comprehensive plan that not only includes a look at taxes, but your investments and your income sources, and so much more to help you get to and through that retirement that you deserve. So call now, 616-514-3831. That's 616-514-3831. And so thank you both for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. And this segment is sponsored by Mattson Financial Services. We'll be right back with more 8 West.